Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Supply Chain Talks. Uh, Myself, I'm Noman Ali, founder and CEO of Supply Chain Talks, and it is a pleasure to host today's webinar on intelligent freight management for modern supply chains. Thank you all for joining us. Freight management has become a far more strategic topic than ever before, and especially in the last few years, where this region has seen so much of disturbances, with the recent one just ending or still going on, but at least some good news coming in this morning. So it has become more a very strategic topic in today's world right now. So for many organizations, it is no longer just about moving cargo from one point to another. It is about improving visibility, strengthening decision making, enhancing service levels, managing the cost pressures that we all feel increasing day by day, and building greater resilience across the supply chain. Yet, despite its growing importance, freight procurement and execution in many businesses still rely on the traditional mechanism, which are emails, spreadsheets, manual follow-ups, and fragmented communication. This creates delay, reduces transparency, limits the benchmarking, and makes it more difficult for organizations to respond quickly and confidently in a fast-changing market. That is exactly why this discussion is timely. In today's session, we will explore what intelligent freight management really means, and the focus would be on intelligent part of it, where automation and visibility can create the greatest value, why digitization efforts often struggle, and how supply chain leaders like all of us can prepare for the next phase of freight transformation, which is driven by data, platforms, and AI. I am humbled and extremely delighted to welcome our expert guest, Mathew, who is the founder and CEO of LogisEye Solutions. Mathew brings valuable insight into freight digitization, procurement workflows, operational visibility, and the future direction of freight management in modern supply chain. Mathew is a veteran of the logistics industry, so what he says matters. So, Mathew, thank you once again for joining us today. We are looking forward to hearing your perspectives and learning from your experience. With that, let us begin.
Thank you very much, Noman. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining. For those who may not know me, I'm Mathew, the founder and CEO of LogisEye. I spent over 3 decades in logistics and supply chain, including 26 years with DHL, which is the leader in integrated logistics globally. So I worked across operations, procurement, finance, and global supply chain transformations. And over the last few years, we have been building at LogisEye based on the problems that are faced not only by the logistics service providers, understanding the real challenges in freight management from shipper consignees within this region as well as globally. So as Noman rightly said, logistics is being managed through fragmented systems, so the disconnected systems, mostly through emails and spreadsheets. For logistics, technology means for most of the people it's emails and Excel sheets. So we wanted to see, especially with this challenging days where disruption is happening all over, we want to see what we can do which can save not only money, improve your productivity, enhance your visibility, and bring in transparency. So in LogisEye, we have developed quite a few solutions. What we are looking at is design LogisEye as a control tower for end-to-end freight management. So it's not just procurement or something, it's end-to-end freight management, which we will detail in the next question sessions. So our solutions, just to give you a heads up, It can handle digital procurement. So we have a bidding solution. We call it LogiBid, which is a reverse auction platform for all modes of transport for shipments across the world. So you can have import, exports, cross-trade. Customers based anywhere in the world can use this solution. We have a pilot of the LogiCode, which is our marketplace, like booking.com, where you can get the instant rate. And we did a pilot for UAE, where you have international courier rates connecting UAE with the 230 countries for imports and exports, where you get the rates in less than 3 to 4 seconds. LogiHub is our transport management solution, which is an execution and workflow orchestration TMS control tower. So that handles everything from your rate management to execution of shipment to complete costing, your workflow management, and freight audit is inbuilt into this. So the moment the shipment is reaching your warehouse, you know the landed cost, and all the workflows are automated through the system. Then for the real-time visibility, we have LogiTrack, which is connected to over 300 airlines, over ocean carriers, 200 plus air carriers, over 50 major couriers. Plus, it is also connected to all the major airports and ports. So basically, any shipments that you are handling through different freight forwarders or carriers, you can track everything under one platform. No need to go through different TMS solutions or tracking through the websites of different carriers. We have LogiSchedule, which is a carrier schedule solution. Basically, it has got, for the ocean freight, it has got over 30,000 global major trade lanes, where you will be able to find out the transit time, the complete schedule of the vessels for a port pair, the ETA, ETD, the container capacity, and most importantly, what is the on-time performance or reliability of that carrier on that particular trade lane, which will help you to understand and plan your shipments properly. Then we have freight audit, that is Logi Audit. So the suppliers can upload their invoices into the system. System has already got the complete rates in place. So it does the audit automatically using AI. So you don't have to spend 5 to 10 minutes in checking individual line items and approving your invoices. You can approve 100 invoices in less than a few seconds. And then LogiIB is giving the supply chain intelligence. So we have the complete data available, complete shipment information, the complete rate management. So system will do the complete analytics. You don't have to spend days and days every month or week or fortnight to prepare your reports. So it will give you proactive decision making because all the data is in one platform under one control tower. So it will give you this complete supply chain intelligence. So basically we are connecting procurement, execution, visibility, and finance into one integrated platform. Now we are doing something additionally, which is something very unique. We are using AI, we are automating the customs bill preparation. So basically, you will be currently, many of these customers are spending hours and hours to prepare the customs bill, especially with a consolidation where you have 150, 200 pages of shipper invoices. You are spending 3 to 4 hours to prepare the Excel summary of your HS code summary and logging into Emersal or whichever is the customs system and updating the customs bill. So here, you will be just scanning the documents. Our AI engine will extract the complete data, map the HS code with the local HS code, trigger email going to the customs department in case the confidence level is lower, and automate the customs bill application and get the status back, so long as the customs is integrating with our system through BTG. So along with that, we are going to have a centralized repository where you can have all your regulatory approvals that can be submitted through this platform, whether it is Department of Health or the municipality or telephone regulatory authority, you name it. All that will be coming under this platform. So this is expected to be the pilot phase for UAE will be ready by July, and then our next target market is Saudi Arabia. Our plan is to go to top 30 countries over the next 4 to 5 years. And then one last thing, what we have is something very unique again, the automated online multi-port RFQ, multi-port RFQ as well as multimodal RFQ and RFI, which is taking currently 2 to 4 months for enterprise customers. We are looking at reducing that from 3 to 4 months down to maximum 15 days. With complete AI assisted analytics for them to take the fastest decision, they can increase the frequency of the RFQs and get the best rate from the market. So ultimately, we wanted to make this solution accessible to all, whether it is larger enterprises or SMEs or even freight forwarders or brokers or 3PLs, you name it. So we want this to be accessible to everybody, scalable across the world, and most important, we want to make it affordable, because there are some TMS solutions globally available. Nobody can touch it because the prices are in millions of dollars. So we wanted to bring affordable solution and the latest technology, which will be accessible to the people. So basically from the fragmented, disconnected systems, emails and Excel sheets, we wanted to have an interconnected end-to-end solution that will be automated, intelligent, and integrated. So this is what we are looking at.
Okay, perfect. So Mathew, let's move to our first question, and I'll pick it up from the last thing you said, intelligence. So how would you define intelligence, and what is intelligence freight management? So if you can give some context to that, please.
Okay. So if we look at the global logistics today, as Noman said initially, we are facing one of the most complex phase in the recent history. We can say in several decades, this is the most complex situation what we are doing, okay, or what we are going through. Now, if you look at the reality of the situation, we already mentioned, digitalization we talk about everywhere, but in logistics, when you say, people will say we are using the latest technology, and latest technology is basically emails and Excel sheets. And I always tell people, when I started in logistics in 1993, we used to have faxes and Lotus 123. And now that has changed to emails and Excel sheets. And to some extent, people use WhatsApp. So that is the main technology people are using. And there are some larger organizations who, where they use TMS solutions, which is mostly like a post-event data entry screen, okay? And we were talking to a few big organizations where they are using multiple systems. They have one system used for managing the rates. Procurement is all manual. They have a separate system to get the visibility where they get emails and they update Excel sheets. Now, if you look at the way things are working, every major company, they may be maintaining anything from 10 to 15 different Excel trackers currently, where these are all post-event data entries for the purpose of making some reports, okay, which is not intelligent. You are not able to take any proactive decisions. I was talking to one of the major FMCG company. They said they're spending 20 minutes after one shipment to update the complete Excel sheet, and they have a 65 column Excel sheet where they need to update every information. So what we are looking at is, changing it from these manual processes and disconnected systems into an end-to-end control tower system. Now the question of intelligence in freight procurement, and we were talking about how intelligent freight management is different from the traditional freight management. Now, there is a little bit of confusion. When people talk about freight management, they get confused with freight procurement. Now, procurement is only one part of freight management. So, freight management includes procurement, planning of the shipment, which mode of transport to be used, which freight line to be used, which carrier to be used, execution of the shipment from the time it is awarded all the way up to the delivery of the shipment, and even getting the supplier invoices and doing the freight audit. Visibility of the shipment. So you need to have end-to-end visibility and also get exceptions, customs and other compliances, regulatory compliances, financial control, which is basically you have the rates on one side, you have the shipments, you have the invoices from the suppliers where you are doing the freight audit, and then at the end, the complete analytics. So which is basically on the performance of the carriers, performance of your team, performance of your logistics service providers, the transit time, your logistics spend analytics, forecast, so all this. So currently in most of these organizations, as I said, these are all handled in silos, okay? And this is affecting the overall performance, and it leads to delays, inefficiencies, cost leakages, and lack of control. So what we talk about intelligent freight management means, as I said in the beginning, an integrated data-driven system through automation, intelligence, and integration, where you have all the data available under one platform. You have predictive intelligence available, automation to substantially reduce your manual work, increasing efficiency, and automated workflows. So the current traditional way of freight management, what is the impact on the business? Everybody knows. You have huge cost impact because your procurement is not efficient. Okay. Productivity. You have huge room for productivity improvement. Transparency is a major concern across freight procurement, where people work with their buddy freight forwarders and always work with very limited suppliers because of all these manual processes. And visibility, which is forcing you not to take proactive decisions. So, as I said in the beginning, when it comes to LogisEye, we have the solutions for procurement, execution, visibility, financial control, customs and regulatory compliance, and intelligence, which is basically the supply chain intelligence. So,
okay.
Yeah, I think in logistics, the question is not lack of data. You know, people are spending too much time in managing the data and not in using the data to take proactive decisions. So
rather than utilizing the data, correct. Correct. Mathew, what you are just saying, actually, it kind of overlaps on a product that right now SCT is building right now, and it's basically what we are building is a procurement engine, a complete agentic AI based procurement engine, and we also started our first use case around the freight part. And
okay.
And then, your topic and what we are doing are completely independent events, but there's a lot of overlapping. But what we are doing is from a different perspective, from a pure procurement side. And I like it that, two different people, two different scenarios, but there is a certain overlap and which can be done. That what you want to do, what we want to do a similar thing to reduce the whole transaction into a few seconds. Not even a few minutes. So we are working towards reducing everything down to a few seconds. Fine. So that is our aim as well. But that is for discussion. When someone is going to take my interview, I will talk about it.
Maybe we can talk separately, because you don't have to spend time on that. We can collaborate on that.
This is what I'm thinking. We will talk separately on that. So, anyways. So coming back to our core one, fine. So my next question is because I talk about that we are starting with the procurement part of that intelligence, procurement intelligence. So, and you also mentioned that freight procurement and how much time is spent. So, and your introductory remarks were also around this, that freight procurement is still largely managed through manual processes, that you text people, you call people up, you send messages and you wait, and it's all manual process, the emails, the calls, even now in today's world, the WhatsApp, the Telegram, and all these things are working, and then updating spreadsheets and trying to make sense of it. The data management is happening. So why has this function been slow to modernize? Why are we still in a legacy environment where the world has moved on in every other area? So what operational commercial risk does this create right now?
Okay. Let me ask the question. I don't know if they can use the chat. How many freight forwarders you are using currently, okay, for your freight procurement? Because when we talk to most of the freight forwarder, the companies, the SMEs, some of them work with a single forwarder because they are working with them
because
for the last 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, when you look at a slightly bigger company, they may stick to their 3 forwarders.
Because that is a compliance requirement.
Correct. Because they need 3 codes, but they manage internally to award. They talk to each other and disclose the rates, and their buddies get the shipment. So this is how it is working. Okay.
This is so true. And people might say, no, we don't do it, but this is how it works. I've been on the other side of a customer that I was moving DG shipment, and I knew that only this freight forwarding is the best, and I never used to even call anyone else, and I used to say, can you come and take these documents and get it done? No question about rates or anything, because I had to get things done.
Now, look at Dubai. Dubai, for example, they have more than 8,500 freight forwarders. Okay. I don't know how many forwarders are there in Saudi. We will do a market study. Okay. Now, why there is a large number of freight forwarders? It's all the buddy business, I will say. Okay. Now, you look at the freight procurement process now. How does it work? Okay. Nowadays, people even use WhatsApp, asking how you get a visibility where you are sending the same shipment detail to multiple forwarders and they are all chatting through the WhatsApp. It's not even a WhatsApp group because they don't want to show any rates to each other. How will you manage it? Okay. Now they send emails. Now, when you send the emails, each company send the email in a different format from the customer side I'm talking about. Now, when you send the email to the forwarders, there is no stipulated timeline. Somebody will respond in half an hour. Somebody will respond in 2 hours. Somebody will respond after 2 days. Some even after 6 days. So there is no tracking showing what all requests went, what came back. Now, when you get these rates are not at all comparable. Hardly any forwarder gives a lump sum price to say that, this is the cost. They will have so many hidden charges. This is why even forwarders make money, I know, because I know there will be many attendees from the forwarder side. Okay. So they always stick to this 1 to 3, 1 to 4 forwarders. The rates are coming in. These are not comparable. The timeline to get the rate is, there is no control over it. Now, once these rates are received, they start their Excel machine where they will update this information. Now, of course, as I said, in some of the codes, you may have 10 to 15 different line items. Some are at actual, some are if applicable. You have all the different clauses. So this poor logistics guy, he will make his assumption. So if there are 4 potential costs, and then he may either award it to the lowest or the, even if the difference is slightly lower, he will, or whatever, it will happen like that. Okay. Now, when the actual invoice comes from them, the actual invoice is always different from what is quoted or what you estimated. And the global average, Noman, is that customers pay 7 to 10% extra cost because of the billing errors, duplicate billing, and double billing, which is huge. Okay, for a company, when you look at the logistics cost, it's around 3 to 4%. I'm talking about the freight forwarding cost, 3 to 4% of their revenue. Now, their net profit or EBITDA is only around 6 to 7%. Now, which means that if they are able to save around 5 to 7% in terms of freight procurement, freight rates, and this billing rate, so we are talking about saving close to 14-15% of their freight cost, which is a sizable addition to the bottom line. Okay, so people don't understand this. So when you look at the challenges, the slow response time, inconsistent, non-comparable data, the limited suppliers, and then high dependency on individuals, because those who handle the procurement, they are the experts and all the information is in their brain. So if they go on leave, it becomes a challenge for the guy who will handle the job temporarily. So this is the current scenario. Okay, so this is affecting directly the cost, the productivity, transparency part. Okay, so what is required is basically there has to be structured RFQs. Okay, where the RFQ should go in one format, and you should insist the suppliers to submit the rate in one format which is comparable, and you can get the real-time comparison. Nobody has to prepare Excel sheets to get it. So if I invited 6 suppliers and if they submitted, the rates will be easily online available for me for comparison. Now, one big challenge with the manual process is that, if I got 6 rates and if I am hiding one of the cheapest rate in my comparison sheet, that may not be even available, which is again transparency issue. Whereas here, if you have the online bidding happening, you have all the rates available on the screen. You can extract it to Excel directly or PDF, and you can take the decision directly and award the shipment from there. So it becomes very, very easy, and your decision making becomes much faster. And through the reverse auction bidding advantage is the suppliers will not know who are the other suppliers or what are the rates. They will know what is their ranking. They are able to modify the price any number of times until the bid time is closed. So ultimately, the shipper can say they can get the best possible rate by the time the bid is closed. So this is where it happens. So ultimately, why this is not automated? I will just say the logisticians are at their comfort level using the limited suppliers, Excel sheets, and email, and they don't look at how they can add more value and reduce cost and efficiency into the whole process.
I'm just writing a few interesting points that you just mentioned. Right. Awesome. I'm learning a lot, Mathew, from you right now. So now coming, we are already halfway through. Actually, effectively, we only have now 15-20 minutes remaining. So I will skip a few, but I will go into the next part, which is around, when we are talking about all these procurement, management, and everything. And in today's area, transparency is very important. So how can then organizations improve transparency in their supplier selection and the benchmarking? You were talking about Excel files and everything. That how they can improve the rate benchmarking to ensure that fair and data-driven decisions are taken.
So basically, I think I touched base on that already in the previous.
Yeah, you did, but I just want you to elaborate a little bit more, because this is very critical topic. With how the rates are fluctuating and you are dependent on your very comfort zone suppliers only, and you do not know what the actual true world is out there. You are always blindsided with the comfort that you are enjoying.
Correct. So if we continue to eat from one restaurant, you will know what is the taste of the food of that restaurant. You are not tasting anything outside. And this is exactly the problem when you stick to 1 or 2 suppliers. You have no clue what is outside. And currently, if you see the practice, they don't change a logistics service provider unless and until they really mess up a shipment. Otherwise, they are trustworthy. And what happens is the buddies, when they know that a customer is using only us or only 2 or 3 of us, they will start with lower margin to build the confidence. after that, what they are, increasing the price, nobody knows. Okay. And this is the reason, the logistics companies may start with 4 to 5% GP. It will go to 25% GP. Okay. Gradually. So this is the relationship building part. Now, of course, how that is handled, transparency has a big issue. Now, what happens here is ultimately the automation has to bring in, because if I have to get the rate, I have to send the request to 10 different forwarders, and I have to make manual follow-up to get the rates, and all these non-comparable rates I have to tabulate. It's a headache. It's a lot of manual work. So basically, you need to use some technology where you can have not 2 or 3 suppliers. You qualify 10, 12, 15 suppliers, because you have enough suppliers available in the market. You can even have suppliers directly from the origin countries to get even better rates. There are large freight networks available. You can get the agents from there. So first thing is have a large pool of freight forwarders. Number 2, standardize your RFQs, giving all the details so that all the forwarders get to see the same information. Number 3, set the timeline to submit the codes. Now, we automated this process. System automatically send reminders to the suppliers that the bid is closing in 2 hours or 1 hour or 30 minutes or 10 minutes. They need to submit the rate. And in one click, you can send a reminder to the supplier. Now, beauty of it is you can see all the rates in one platform coming in, fully comparable. Okay. Now, for transparency, one very important point, when we were talking to one of the oil and gas companies, they said, Mathew, this looks perfect, but I want you to do one more change. I don't want my team to see the rates until the bid is closed. So if the bid is closing at 4 o'clock, you give them the access only at 4:05. 5 minutes past 4. They don't want, because what is happening is they talk to their buddies and tell what is the best rate. Now, if I have the best rate as $4,000 and somebody is ready to give 3,500, he's asking the guy to quote 3,990 and he's taking the 410. Imagine. This is transparency. Okay. So basically, large number of suppliers, online bidding solution, standardized RFQs, standardized response, so that you get everything comparable and you can achieve your, and the time what you will spend, we have the option in the system to create template. Now, if you have regular imports, exports happening for your trade lanes from the shipper consignee, you can create it as a template. So basically, to create a bid, it takes just a minute. Imagine 1 minute, you have the bid ready and you launch it.
Yes.
Okay. So this will bring in total transparency into the whole process. I will not say total, but I can say total transparency into the process, and it can substantially reduce your manual work, improve your productivity. This process can improve your productivity by 65 to 80% in the freight procurement. Okay, and yeah, and cost savings can be anything from 7 to 15%. Imagine.
See, Mathew, what you're mentioning, that if you're automating and if you're defining a structure and everything, and the automatic reminders, you are basically removing the, how would I put it very gently, the donkey work of the procurement.
Correct.
And you're removing it, you're automating it, you're digitizing it, and you're making it intelligent from that perspective, right? So now, I will hold that and I will come to my next question, which is the priorities of automation. That when we are talking about, across the freight lifecycle, the whole thing, like sourcing, booking, shipment tracking, invoice processing and payment, where does automation, in your viewpoint, creates the greatest value? And what should be prioritized first for the maximum impact?
Okay, I think if you are bleeding, you have to stop the bleeding first, right? Okay, so I will say from this Excel-driven environment, when you move into automation, we talked about so many different advantages, but most important, I will look at 2 areas. One is where the money is leaking, and second is where the maximum time is wasted. But ultimately, these two will cover everything, I will say. Okay. Now, when you talk about money leakage, okay, so we are talking about mainly one, the freight cost procurement, where you are able to get the best rate, number one. Number two, you can get rid of all the hidden charges, that is separate. Number three, your billing errors. As I said, 7 to 10% extra based on global survey for billing errors. So if you automate the freight audit, you are saving. So this is direct impact on your logistics cost, part one. Now, part two is your compliance related or visibility related additional cost. These are costs incurred for storage demurrage because you did not clear the shipment on time, or you did not plan the clearance and you are paying demurrage detention to the port or shipping lines. You are paying because of the errors in your declarations, whether it is in the customs bill or any of the other regulatory approvals. You are declaring wrong HS codes, or you are again, you are not clearing the shipment on time. The customs clearance is delayed because of some issue. You end up paying demurrage. And air freight, for example, you hardly get any free storage. So all these incidental costs related to the freight. Okay. And then third is what you can serve with the productivity improvement. So if you are able to improve your productivity, so we work with a major retail company where they have, we are talking about 125 employees. We are looking at improving the productivity by 65%. Once it is stabilized, it may take 6 months once the whole thing is implemented, but we are looking at a productivity improvement of 65%. And this custom automation platform, what we were talking about, once that is implemented, we are looking at 95% productivity improvement. Okay. So the administrative cost and shipping direct cost as well as the ancillary cost. So that is number one. Number two, and then of course the transparency part, that's, it is hidden in the freight cost savings. Okay. And then of course it comes to the visibility, where you are able to take, track your shipments, get the visibility, get the real-time alerts in case of port congestion or when it is going to start demurrage, etc. So if you look at these two areas, cost as well as the productivity improvement, that is the two cases you need to fix immediately. And for that, what you need to do is, if you look at our solutions, we have these solutions. Either you can take it as a control tower integrated end-to-end solution. That is what is preferred for large enterprise customers. But the SMEs and all, they can take the module. So if they wanted to start automation, start with, for example, the freight bidding or freight marketplace. So you have immediate cost saving direct coming in. And then look at, for example, tracking solution and the carrier schedule, so that you don't have to spend enormous time to track each and every shipment through different websites. So everything can come under one. So somebody can start with that and then add more solutions into this.
Okay, I will take just one question because this question is very relevant to what we are talking about. So I'll just take one question. And the question is that from Mohit Bashir. If a company could implement only one capability in freight intelligence today, which would deliver the highest impact and why? So I think this is very relevant and it's a continuation to what we are discussing right now. So it's better to take it now.
Freight intelligence comes through analytics. Now that is possible only if you are able to centralize your data. Now it depends on the organization. If they have a central repository of all their related data, which can get you all the analytics and proactive decision making and intelligence, it can work. And our solution, LogisEye, it's an AI powered reporting tool, which will, it's amazing tool. This is like the BI tool, complete analytics. You can get it. You can have the proactive decisions, etc. But data is the key. You need to, now of course, if you are using the system, you have all the data available. we can cleanse your past data and even upload that data into the system, and you can start working on it. So that is the best you can do for the intelligence part.
Perfect. Thank you. So moving forward, I will take now, because there are a lot of questions, so I would like the questions to be handled as well. So we will cut short on my question, because public questions are more important, because that is why they are here. They want to understand more. So, but I will just ask one question that, and this I usually ask to people, that digital transformation initiatives, and I've seen this time and time again, they often fail due to internal bureaucracy and lower end user adoption or understanding. What are the key reasons adoption struggles in trade digitization, and what practical strategy help drive successful adoption? What are your learnings with LogisEye, especially?
Okay, it's a very good question, because people talk about technology, and most important for organizations is to see if they have a budget, they will say they are ready to invest. This is the normal tendency, but you see that most of these implementations fail. Okay, why?
Yeah.
Number one is resistance to change, because if you imagine a situation, if you put all the different solutions what we talked about in one go to an organization, they cannot handle it. Okay, it's like an elephant you have to eat. You cannot. You have to cut that into pieces and you have to eat, right? So here the resistance to change. So you have to get out of that. We will talk about that. Now, second is people are scared to look at some of these, global multinational TMS solutions, because the moment you see the screen, you get a headache. These are not user friendly. Okay. So if you give something, and people are comfortable with Excel, so that is why they stick to it. Now you need to give a system that is very user friendly and they will feel like using it. Okay. Number three, I will say the lack of training, because organizations spend a lot of investment in the solution, but very little on the training part. And this training is very, very critical. And you need to have, the trainer program where you have your internal team. So especially for large organization, there has to be a go-to person available. So the training is very important. And then what happens is you bring in a solution, but you don't look at the integration opportunity, say from your TMS to your finance system, your WMS system. So you name it, or you have your forward TMS systems, for example. So they don't spend time to work on integration so that, it can work smoothly. And people don't look at the ROI. So when you invest, for example, $200,000, $300,000, you need to justify a proper ROI on that investment. For example, our system is giving 500 to 800% ROI. Okay, so it's not an expense; it is an investment. So these are the main reasons for the failure. So what we have done is, we made the solution as a modular solution. So it can be a modular rollout. So even for large organization, it's not that you have to take everything in one go. Get comfortable with, for example, tracking. You can implement it in a day. It takes a couple of, not even a few hours. Schedule, you can implement it immediately. The bidding solution for procurement, we can get it done immediately. Whereas if you look at the end-to-end solution, depending upon the number of users and countries, etc., you may take a month to 2, okay, or even 3. But once you start using this and people find the flexibility, the advantage, the productivity improvement, and the value addition from the solution, naturally they will start using it. So the implementation has to be faster, it should be modular, and the ROI has to be justified. So once you are able to do these 3 things, I think you will get a much better adoption.
Much better adoption. So before we, just a second, before I go on, I just want to share one thing. We are having, I just want to do, first of all, thank you, whoever has joined in. I would appreciate if you can subscribe to the YouTube channel that you're watching us on. And secondly, we are having a very interesting webinar as well, a public webinar around the Strait of Hormuz topic, which is beyond the crisis. And it is logically right now because we are now moving beyond the crisis. So it's about resilience in the logistics space. So if you have not yet registered, I'm sharing the link in the comments. Do click on the link and register yourself. And I hope to see you guys on Monday as well in the webinar. Our last webinar on the Strait of Hormuz, we were able to attract around 400 people who actually joined in and listened for the 90 minutes of our session, by the way. 400 people. So that was an extraordinary, and from across the world, 40 countries. That was a mix of the 400 people, Mathew. And I think you were one of them, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I was there, yes.
Yeah, I know. You are one of the most, I would say, one of the most supportive friends that I have made recently.
Thank you for the compliments.
So just now, because I would like to take the questions now. We have discussed LogisEye, and the idea was that we will even ask you to open the platform and show something. But again, gentlemen and gentlemen, whoever is logged in, exactly. So the idea is that LogisEye, the reason that we are talking today, I had a chance of looking at LogisEye around a month or 1.5 months back with Mathew, and I was super amazed. And that what he is building that I had no idea of. And as Supply Chain Talks, as a consultancy firm, we need to know what is out there, so that we can recommend. And the best way that we can recommend right now is to showcase you right now. So anybody who would likes to learn about LogisEye, you can always reach out to me. You can reach out to Mathew over LinkedIn, anything, or to my team. Leave a message, and we will share further details about him. So the solution is amazing, so hopefully he will give you in-person demos of the solution. But let's move to the questions, Mathew, because questions are very interesting, and I would not like to miss the question. So first of all, I will take one small comment from Mr. Patel. Hi, Mathew. Looking forward to this. Pareem. So I'm very confident that he's a good friend of yours.
Pareem Patel, yes.
Fine. And thank you for hosting. This is Bronson Mukasa. Then, because I like to honor everybody who has left a comment, they have a right to be visible to everyone. So now here is one comment.
Just to add, we are looking at launching our products in Africa very soon, hopefully next month. Wow. So be in touch. You can be one of our first customers in.
Exactly. So reach out to him. So he's saying you are right on data management in supply chain. Time is spent on Excel sheet, but the data is not used for decision making accordingly. So rightly said. Then this is another appreciation post. This is a very interesting topic on modern supply chain from an environmental perspective. There is still a lot of room for improvement in how supply chains are upgraded sustainably. I will make a comment without doubt. I see new solutions coming in and out. The world is so big of supply chain, and logistics is one portion of it. And within logistics, freight is just another portion of it. It's huge. And so the idea is that build, the technologies, they need to be niche there because the problems are so big and spectacular. Amazing that the niche solutions are what is needed right now, not general solutions anymore. So that is it. So this is the question now. Yes. Please.
Let me add one more point on that. In our solution, especially LogiTrack and LogiSchedule, we give the carbon emission data by carrier for the selected trade lane, so that you can make really good decisions. And number two, within the TMS solution, we have an option to consolidate your shipments. So your multiple LCL shipments can be consolidated to an FCL shipment, which can substantially save on-site cost, but reduce carbon emission. And then we have consolidation, means regrouping available. For example, you have 10 shipments arrived at Jeddah airport, you can club that into one truck. So, you will be able to do the consolidation and reduce the use of number of trucks and reduce it. Plus, we got inbuilt end-to-end document management. So, No need to make 8 to 10 copies of all your shipping documents, which sometimes runs into hundreds of pages. So all that documentation is electronically managed. So these all can add value to your ESG.
So Matthew, you have just answered that it would be great to discuss how modern supply chains can improve eco-friendly. So you just answered this question. So thank you. Moving next, I will now, this is a question from Amna Wasim. What differentiates truly intelligent freight systems from traditional digital logistics tools?
Okay, I said that earlier. Now, when you look at it, means we work with some major enterprise customers and they have the old system which they are not using. Okay, they pay for it, but they don't use it. Why? Most of these are post-event data entry screens to make the report. So now, and they have, some of them has got even a control tower, but I told them it is not control tower, it is just a watch tower where you can see the problem after the event has happened. So what we require is, an intelligent system, AI powered, which can help you to take proactive actions rather than reactive actions. And everything is interconnected or integrated. So you have the complete data available here. So system that is not in silos, all integrated under one platform, and it will improve your productivity and cost. So this is what you require, and the visibility. So the traditional system, believe me, most of them made the systems, and many of them made customized system. How did they do? They had 24 Excel sheets. They brought all that fields into the system, and it has become a data entry screen. Instead of Excel, they use this system. So that's not what we are looking at.
Good. Okay, good. So next question is also an interesting one, based from Rehana Wasim. Based on your experience, Matthew, building LogisEye, what was the biggest misconception companies had about freight intelligence?
What was the biggest misconception companies had about freight intelligence? Okay. See, normally, what people used to consider as freight intelligence was they have the data of their logistics cost. So they are able to see the complete analysis of their cost, how much is spent on import, how much is spent on export, how much on transshipment, how much is spent by mode of transport, how many shipments they handle, how many containers they handle. For them, this was the intelligence. Okay. Now, using AI, I will give you a couple of examples here. Now, imagine you are using LogiTrack. Now, you get an alert automatically saying that this shipment is stuck in Singapore. Your ETA was so and so date. Because of the port congestion, your revised ETA is going to be so and so date. You get a predictive notification. Okay. Shipment arrived at the port. You have 14 days free storage. On the 12th day, it will send you an alert saying that your storage is going to start in 2 days. Okay. You get so now you currently what happens, you have 50 shipments arriving today. You need to go through individual 50 shipments, look at the tracker of the website of the carrier or the freight forwarder and understand if everything is okay. Here you will get an alert that these are the 3 shipments where it is delayed. You need to have just look at that and take the action. All the other 47 shipments are moving as per schedule. You don't have to waste even 1 minute. So this sort of intelligence, plus if you need to make predictive analytics on what can be your forecasted freight spend based on the past history, you can do that. Now, of course, the current scenario is totally different where nobody can predict what is going to be the freight cost or related cost. Nobody can do that. But in normal course, you should be able to do all that using these systems.
Okay, amazing. Thank you. Let's take one. How can AI, this is an interesting question. I was waiting to come to this question. How can AI-driven freight management optimize pallet usage, especially for heavy loads and ASR systems?
Okay. So you are talking about pallet usage in the containers to get the best container utilization, or even in the trucks to use the container utilization? Is that what you meant?
Yeah,
Can you just clarify?
I think that would be the question B. I think we can take it from that. Either it might be container or because we are talking about freight. I think let's take the example of a container. It's better this way.
So it's not reuse of the pallets, right?
I don't think so. This is what my understanding is.
I will treat it as container utilization or truck utilization. So you have a 40-foot container with a capacity of 60 CBM, whether you got 40 CBM or 58 CBM. So what is the percentage utilization? Now, this is something, there are some solutions which offer where you can automate how the load has to be, means how the pallets need to be loaded into the container to get the best utilization, especially when you have different pallet sizes or oversized cargo or non-stackable cargo, etc. So there is a solution, but we don't have it as of now, but we will be looking at integrating that in future.
Okay. So just a second, I need to remove this as well. Okay. So as a last question, where is it? I would like to. This is an interesting question. I think this question is coming from this gentleman's heart, and all respect to him. What are your views on unnecessary pressure on logistics employees from management?
Oh man!
Now this question is from the heart.
This is from the heart, and let me tell you something very, very, from my heart. Okay, when I formed this company, initially the name what I put was LogisEye, because
nice.
There is no life for the logisticians. Okay, they are one of the most frustrated people in the world. Okay. Now, I will tell you a little bit story, okay? It may take only 1 minute. This is when I joined long back in 93, when I joined in logistics. We used to have, 96, we had Terminal 2. So there was one employee, they used to leave the office at 9:30, 10, 10:30, 11, 12. This is how the pressure was, okay? Now, when he was leaving at 12 o'clock, and on the way, he was caught by a pickpocketer, not pickpocketer, a thief. So he stopped him on a knife point, and he asked him, "You want your life or you want your money?" Okay. So he gave one answer.
Okay.
He gave one answer, and then he let him go. So the answer was, I work with Dash Logistics Company. He gave the name of the logistics company. I don't want to say that here. So which means that there is no life and there is no money those days. Nowadays, they are paid well. But those days, people working in logistics, they had no life and no money. And now also, they have no life, I will say. So this is something really, and this is all because of all these manual processes and the lack of visibility. And you have a room to, change that, not only here, globally. And this is same thing happening globally. So it's high time, we are democratizing it. We are making it affordable. So get into the solutions, make your life, spend time with your family, have a good work-life balance. This is what I will say.
Okay. I will add to this a little bit. And this is when we are, talking with companies and leaders around digital transformation. One of the pitch points that we make is that digitization, never take digitization as expenses and investment. As an investment not in your own organization, but it is an investment in your people as well, because you will be able to remove the as I said earlier, the donkey work, the leg work, the repetitive tasks, no value add tasks, and you can then free them up mentally, and they can be your strategic leaders eventually. Right now, they are just doing repetitive tasks. And if you give them the right tools, with how fast the industry is moving, how the pressure is building up, if you do not have the right tools to support them, then they will not be able to deliver to their potential. Maybe 10, 12, 15 years back, you could work manually because the pressure was less. The global trade volumes were very low. But now it's mega. volume, which is moving around, and the pressure is increasing. So you need the tools to make improve the life. And I think you should go back to LogisLife then, for your product. So so this brings an end to our session today, and I just would like to say a big thank you to you, Mathew, for sharing such valuable insights with us today. From my perspective, it has been a learning experience, and this has been a highly relevant and practical discussion between you and me, and the question that came in, and how freight management is evolving from a traditional manual and reactive function into a more intelligent, transparent, technology-enabled capability. We together have touched on some very important themes today, including the need for better visibility, stronger supplier benchmarking, workload efficiency, real-time visibility, and the role of automation in AI. And we were able to touch on all of these things with, and linking it to the viewers' questions as well. From my perspective, a key takeaway from today's conversation is that intelligent freight management is not just about adopting digital tools. It is about building a better operating model, one that improves responsiveness, reduces inefficiency, support data-driven decisions, which you emphasize so much during your talk, and I agree with that, and ultimately strengthens the overall performance of the function of the supply chain performance. So in addition to all of this, I would like to thank again all our participants, all our viewers who took the time out to join in and listen to us and being part of this session. We truly appreciate your time, interest, and engagement. And I just want to share a small, Mathew, this has been, in this 2026 at least, I'm just looking at the data, it has been one of the most engaging sessions that we have had. The watch time overall has surpassed 25 hours. I'm just looking at the YouTube analytics, and around 90 people have actually watched it so far with us. So this has been a great session. And so on behalf of Supply Chain Talks, thank you once again for being with us today. Please stay connected with us, and anybody who wants to connect with Mathew, please reach out to us. I would be more than happy to connect you with Mathew. Wishing you all a wonderful evening ahead. Over to you, Mathew, for a closing statement, please.
I think we are at a turning point in logistics with all the disruptions, and as my friend rightly said, all the frustrations. So it's for you to move out from the Excel and email-driven logistics world to an AI-driven, intelligent, integrated, automated system. Okay, that will give you life. So forget about the cost savings, visibility, productivity, and all. This will give you life. In addition, those comes as bonus. So start your journey now. And those who are there, I forgot to tell, we can offer some special rate for you, those who participated into this event. So you can connect Noman, and you can connect me through the email. Give reference to this webinar.
The discount term would be Supply Chain Talks. If you say Supply Chain Talks to Mathew, he will give you a discount.
Yeah, Supply Chain Talks. That's correct.
You see those influencer TikTok videos. This is the code, discount code. So over here, the discount code is Supply Chain Talks.
Yeah. And as I said, we made it very affordable for you, and you can go on modular basis. Whether you want to start with even 50 shipments to track to start with, 50 carrier schedules to start with, you want to start your bidding process, we'll come out with very affordable prices, and we can implement those immediately. It don't take so many days. So please connect with Noman. Any questions, what you have on the solution, or if you need a demo of the system, you can connect with us and we can arrange that. Thank you very much for joining, and I hope.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you.